Greyjoy's rebellion was an attempt at secession by Balon Greyjoy against the Iron Throne in 289 AC, 9 years before the beginning of Game of Thrones. Balon tried to break away from the Seven Kingdoms to secure independence for the Iron Islands and restore the old way, which was lost almost 300 years prior during Aegon's conquest. The rebellion was eventually crushed and Balon was forced to surrender, cementing the hold of King Robert Baratheon on the Iron Throne. Quaelon Greyjoy, Lord Reaper of the Pike, desired to strengthen the ties of the Iron Islands with the rest of the Seven Kingdoms. His Ironborn remained neutral for most of Robert's rebellion, but Quaelon decided to rise in support of Robert after the Battle of the Trident. Lord Quaelon died in the battle at the Mander while attacking the Reach near the end of the war. Quaelon's successor and eldest son Balon rejected the reforms and desired independence for the Ironborn. Since House Greyjoy had only joined the rebellion near its end, they did not suffer heavy losses like the other great houses did. Over 5 years, Lord Balon constructed a new fleet of 100 war galleys called the Iron Fleet. Balon believed that Robert's rule was insecure, that the new king lacked support amongst the nobility, and would not be able to muster a host against the Ironborn. Roderick Harlaw unsuccessfully advised Balon against this rebellion. In 289 AC, 6 years after Robert overthrew House Targaryen, Balon proclaimed himself King of the Iron Islands and led a rebellion against the Iron Throne. Beneath Naga's ribs on the holy isle of Old Wick, the priest Tarl crowned Balon with the driftwood crown, and thus Greyjoy's rebellion had begun. Hoping to control the Sunset Sea, Balon began his rebellion with the burning of the Lannister fleet at anchor and a surprise attack on Lannisport in the Westerlands planned by his brother Euron and led by another brother, Victarion, who was the Lord Captain of the Iron Fleet. Victarion crossed and tossed the first torch onto the flagship of Tywin Lannister, who was Lord of Casterly Rock at the time. The victory at Lannisport gave King Balon freedom to launch an attack against Seaguard in the Riverlands by Roderick, his eldest son. Roderick was slain by Jason Mallister, who was Lord of Seaguard. During the storming of Seaguard, however, his reavers were thrown back into Iron Man's Bay in defeat. German Botley claimed a gilded breastplate from a Lannister captain, and the father of Podrick Payne from Game of Thrones was killed at some point during this war. The counterattack by the Iron Throne. Robert used superior numbers and resources to crush this rebellion. His brother Stannis, the Lord of Dragonstone and the Master of Ships, joined the royal fleet with the Red Wine fleet from the Arbor and ships from Old Town. They caught and smashed Victarion's Iron Fleet in the Straits of the Fair Isle. The husband of Gwynne's Harlaw was killed in the sea battle off Fair Isle, while Aeron Greyjoy was captured and spent the rest of the war beneath Casterly Rock. Stannis' victory over Victarion near Fair Isle allowed Robert's forces to cross from the Green Lands to the Iron Islands. Robert was supported by Ned Stark, the Lord of Winterfell, Tywin Lannister, the Warden of the West. Sir Gregor Clegane was also part of Tywin's forces. Stannis subdued the Great Wick in his brother's name, while Sir Barristan Selmy, Lord Commander of the Kingsguard at the time, led the attack on Old Wick. The islands of Harlaw and Orkmont were also invaded. The Siege of Pike. The final battle of the rebellion was on the island of Pike, led by Robert and his childhood friend Ned. The nearby Botley Castle was destroyed, as was the town of Lordsport beneath it, before the main attack on the Castle of Pike was even launched. Robert's forces assaulted the southern wall with siege engines, shattering the main watchtower and bringing parts of the surrounding wall down. Meryn Greyjoy, the second of Balon's 3 sons, was killed in this breach. Thoros of Myr was first through the breach, wielding a sword coated in wildfire. The fighting in the castle was fierce, but eventually the castle was taken. Jorah Mormont, who was behind Thoros, and Jacqueline Bywater lost a hand in the fighting. They both earned knighthoods from Robert for their bravery. Old Nan's grandson was also killed during the siege, if you remember her. Balon, brought before Robert in chains, bent the knee and was forced to swear fealty once more to the Iron Throne. His surviving son, the 9-year-old Theon, was given into the care of Ned Stark as a hostage to ensure Balon's good behavior. Balon ended up surrendering. His 2 eldest sons, Roderick and Meryn, were killed, and Theon, his last surviving son, was made a ward of House Stark as hostage. Robert's victory cemented his hold on the Iron Throne, having overthrown the Targaryens 6 years before. He ended up throwing a great tourney at Lannisport to celebrate this victory. The rebellion resulted in the castle of Pike being severely damaged, and it had to be partially rebuilt. The faith of the Seven suffered abuse in the Iron Islands at the hands of the fanatics who worshipped the drowned god. Baelor Blacktide, Lord of Blacktide, was a child when his father died in the war, and as a result, he was taken away to Oldtown as a hostage following the end of the rebellion, and ended up returning 8 years later as a follower of the Seven. The houses fighting for each side were as follows. Fighting for the Iron Islands was House Greyjoy, obviously, House Blacktide, Botley, and House Harlaw. On the other side, for the Iron Throne, we have a lot of the major houses. We have House Baratheon, House Stark, House Bolton, House Mormont, Lannister, Payne, Clegane, Tyrell, and House Tully, among some other ones too. There are quite a few notable commanders on the Iron Islands. We have Balon Greyjoy, Euron Greyjoy, and Meryn Greyjoy. For Robert, we had Robert, Stannis, Ned Stark, Paxter Redwyne, Barristan Selmy, and Tywin Lannister. So there you have it. There's a video on the Greyjoy's rebellion. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you'd like more. Have a great day.